I grew up unchurched. I became a Christian in high school through reading the Living Bible. I was active in InterVarsity Christian Fellowship at the University of Hawaii. My home church was Kalihi Union Church, KUC, a fine evangelical congregation that was part of the United Church of Christ, UCC. I was deeply troubled by the UCC's liberal theology and wanted to help it return to its biblical roots. This led me to study at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary for the purpose of preparing to become an evangelical seminary professor in the Liberal United Church of Christ to help the UCC return to its biblical roots. However, in a surprising turn of events, I became Orthodox. It was my first week at seminary. As I walked down the hallway of main dorm, I saw on the door of one of the students' room an icon of Christ. I thought to myself, an icon in a Calvinist seminary? This was to be the first of many encounters with Eastern Orthodoxy. After receiving my MA in church history, I did doctoral studies at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California. While there, I attended Saints Kyril and Methodios Bulgarian Orthodox Church. I was drawn to the deep, mystical worship of liturgical worship that was rooted in the historic Christian faith. I also felt comfortable with its all-English services and a congregation that was made up mostly of converts. Orthodox worship presents a stark contrast to the emotionally driven entertainment that passes for contemporary evangelical worship. My journey to orthodoxy began when little questions about Protestant theology turned into big questions, and the big questions turned into a theological crisis. Protestant theology holds up so long as one accepts certain premises, but becomes problematic when considered from the standpoint of church history and the early church fathers. As a church history major, I became painfully aware that much of what passes for evangelicalism, the altar call, the symbolic understanding of the Lord's Supper, the inductive Bible study method, minimalist creed, the rapture, all have their origins in the 1800s. This means that evangelicalism is a modern innovation, as is liberalism. But more troubling was my investigation of classical Reformation theology, e.g., Martin Luther and John Calvin. Two foundational tenets of Protestantism, sola fide, faith alone, and sola scriptura, Bible alone, were not part of the early church and rely upon reading the Bible in a certain way. Moreover, these two tenets originated out of the theological debates of medieval scholasticism. In other words, the Protestant Reformation marks not a return to the historic Christian faith, but rather a late innovation. What makes orthodoxy so daunting to an evangelical is its understanding that to have the true faith means belonging to the one, holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. If the Orthodox Church is the true church, then that meant that I needed to resign my membership from Kalihi Union Church and become Orthodox. I was received into the Orthodox Church on the Sunday of Orthodoxy in 1999 at Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church in Honolulu. I am very grateful for what I have learned from evangelicalism, but there is so much more to Christianity. Orthodoxy is the fulfillment of evangelical theology and worship. Glory be to God,